What if a single video could topple the lives of the most famous faces on the planet? Sometimes just a few seconds can stir up old wounds, shatter carefully constructed illusions, and call into question even the strongest family ties. The world has grown accustomed to the scandals of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, but what happened after the publication of one video from Paris forever changed not only their relationship, but also the future of the royal family. The world stood still when Meghan Markle posted that video. She was lying in a luxurious limousine driving through the streets of Paris. Her feet were casually resting on the seat, and she was living her best glamorous life. The camera captured her smiling, radiant, completely relaxed as the city of lights sparkled around her. It looked like just another day in the life of the Duchess turned Hollywood star. But then someone checked the location data, and everything exploded. That limousine was driving just a mile from the Port del Alma tunnel, the very place where Princess Diana met her last moment. The place where Harry's mother died in a horrific car crash while fleeing paparazzi. Sacred ground that has haunted Prince Harry for nearly 3 decades. And Meghan had just posted a video of herself enjoying life in the same area, completely carefree, as if the burden of that history meant nothing to her. The public reaction was immediate and brutal. Social media exploded in minutes. Royal watchers, casual observers, and even those who defended Meghan during every previous scandal were stunned. The comments section turned into a battlefield. How could she be so insensitive? How could she not realize what that place meant? And, most damningly, how could a woman who constantly compared herself to Diana, who built her entire public image on being a modern version of the people's princess, be so stunningly tone-deaf to the place where Diana's life ended? But public anger was nothing compared to what was reportedly happening behind closed doors. Sources close to the couple claimed that when Harry saw the video, he completely lost it. Insiders whisper that he turned pale, his hands shaking as he watched his wife smile and pose in the same area where his mother's life was stolen. The very streets where paparazzi chased Diana to her death were now being used as a backdrop for Meghan's glamorous content, and she had put it out for the world to see. Rumor has it that Harry demanded an explanation for how this could have happened, how Meghan of all people could not understand the gravity of that place. She knew his history. She knew about his trauma. She knew that he still had nightmares about that tunnel, about the paparazzi, about losing his mother in such a horrific way. And yet, here she was, living her best life, just blocks from the scene of his greatest tragedy. Royal insiders claim that this wasn't just another argument, it was a full-blown eruption. The kind of fight that shakes the foundations of a marriage. That moment when years of tension, resentment, and unspoken frustration all come pouring out at once. And according to those close to the situation, Meghan's response only made things worse. Because instead of apologizing, instead of acknowledging the pain she had caused, sources say she doubled down and defended her decision to post the video. Behind the closed doors of their Montecito mansion, insiders claim, World War III erupted. According to sources close to the situation, Harry confronted Meghan with a level of anger she had rarely seen from him. This wasn't the quiet, restrained prince who had learned to hold back during years of royal protocol. This was a man who had reached his absolute breaking point. Palace insiders whisper that Harry's voice could be heard throughout the house. He allegedly demanded answers. How could she think this was acceptable? Didn't she think about his feelings for a second? Did that place mean anything to her? Sources claim he repeated one devastating question over and over. How could the woman he loved, the woman he gave up everything for, be so heartless to the place where his mother died? But this is where the situation took an even darker turn. According to reports leaking from those close to the couple, Meghan refused to back down. Hollywood insiders rumor that she responded with equal intensity, accusing Harry of being overly sensitive and trying to control her content. She allegedly claimed that she had every right to post whatever she wanted, wherever she wanted. The world doesn't revolve around his trauma, and she was tired of tiptoeing around his feelings about Diana. Rumors in royal circles say that Harry was utterly stunned by her response. He expected remorse, maybe even tears and an apology. Instead, according to sources, he was met with defiance and justifications. Meghan allegedly told him that people were exaggerating, that the video was innocent and that everyone was seeing connections that weren't there. She reportedly accused critics of deliberately fanning the flames of outrage to attack her, as they always did. Insiders claim that Harry tried to explain the deeper issue. It wasn't about controlling her social media or restricting her freedom. It was about respect, about understanding that some places carry too much pain, too much history to be used as a backdrop for glamorous lifestyle content. The tunnel where his mother died wasn't just another location in Paris. It was sacred ground, and she had treated it like a casual photo opportunity. But according to sources close to the situation, Meghan wouldn't hear any of it. Reports are circulating that she accused Harry of allowing the royal family and the British media to manipulate him even across the ocean. She allegedly stated that he was still caught up in their narrative, still allowing them to dictate what she could and couldn't do. And that accusation, insiders whisper, hurt Harry more than anything she could have said. The argument, it is rumored, lasted for hours. Staff reportedly heard doors slamming, voices rising and falling, long periods of agonizing silence, followed by new heated exchanges. By the time the sun set over California, sources claimed the damage had been done. Harry reportedly retreated to the guest house, refusing to sleep in the same room as Meghan. And for the first time in their marriage, it is rumored he began to doubt whether the woman he had sacrificed everything for really understood him at all. To understand why this Paris video was such an utter disaster, you need to understand what that tunnel means to Harry. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel is not just a point on a map. It's the place where his entire world collapsed, where he lost the only person who made him feel truly loved and protected, where his childhood ended in the most brutal, public way imaginable. Harry was only 12 years old when he received the news that his mother had been in a car accident in Paris. 12 years old when he learned she was dead. 12 years old when he had to walk behind her coffin while millions of people watched and cameras flashed in his face. And the most horrifying part, the detail that has haunted him every day since, is that she died being chased by paparazzi. The very people who poisoned her life were there in her final moments. The clicks of cameras as her life slipped away. Sources close to Harry have always said that he carries an enormous sense of guilt about that night. He has spoken publicly about the trauma, about the nightmares, about the anger that still consumes him when he thinks about the photographers who chased his mother through the streets of Paris. He talked about going through that tunnel himself years later, trying to understand what happened, trying to piece together the last moments of her life. It almost destroyed him. And the element of the paparazzi makes it even more devastating. Harry has spent his entire adult life fighting the press, speaking out against the very intrusive photography that killed Diana. He has filed lawsuits, given emotional testimony, broken down in court, describing his fear that history will repeat itself with Meghan. He has repeatedly compared their situation to that of his mother, warning that the relentless media attention could lead to another tragedy. So when Meghan posted a video, seemingly chasing attention and flashbulbs in the same city where Diana died, insiders claim that Harry saw it as the ultimate betrayal. He had spent years trying to protect his wife from the same fate as his mother, and she was seemingly seeking out that attention herself in the one place that should have been forever off limits. Royal commentators have pointed out the cruel irony. Meghan has built so much of her public image around Diana. She has worn Diana's jewelry, visited Diana's favorite charities, even given interviews sitting in the same spot where Diana gave her most famous tell-all interview. She encouraged the comparisons, allowed people to call her the new people's princess, positioned herself as Diana's spiritual successor, and yet, according to critics, showed absolutely no awareness or sensitivity to the place where Diana's life ended. The location wasn't just some random street in Paris. It was less than a mile from the tunnel. The same area where paparazzi swarmed Diana's car. The same area where Harry's trauma was born, and Meghan reportedly turned it into content. Into a glamorous backdrop for her carefully crafted lifestyle brand. For Harry, sources whisper, it wasn't just insensitive, it was unforgivable. This Paris video debacle didn't happen in a vacuum. Royal watchers have been documenting what they call Meghan's calculated use of Diana's memory for years. And this latest incident has brought all previous controversies back into the spotlight. Critics argue that Meghan constantly invokes Diana when it benefits her brand, but shows remarkably little sensitivity to the real pain and trauma associated with the late princess. Remember when Meghan wore Diana's bracelet for that bombshell interview with Oprah? The same interview where she made explosive allegations against the royal family while wearing a piece of jewelry that once belonged to Harry's mother. Royal commentators called it a strategic choice, a visual reminder to viewers that Meghan sees herself as Diana's heir, facing similar persecution from the institution. But critics saw something else. They saw a woman using a dead woman's memory as a prop to bolster her own narrative. Then there was the Archewell Foundation's focus on the causes that Diana championed: landmine removal, AIDS research, homelessness initiatives. On the surface, it looked like a beautiful tribute, but insiders at various charities quietly reported that Meghan's involvement often seemed more geared toward photo opportunities than genuine commitment to the cause. Sources in the charity world whisper that she wanted the association with Diana without putting in the decades of unglamorous work that Diana actually did. And let's not forget the constant comparisons in the media that Meghan never seemed to shut down. Every time a tabloid called her the new Diana, every time a headline drew parallels between their struggles, Meghan's team reportedly did nothing to stop it. In fact, according to PR analysts, they seem to encourage it. The narrative of Meghan as a modern-day Diana facing similar persecution became central to her public identity. She was the outsider, the rule breaker, the woman too authentic for a stuffy institution, just like Diana was rumored to be. But here's where the Paris video exposes the uncomfortable truth that critics have been pointing out all along. According to royal experts, Meghan wanted the glamorous parts of the Diana comparison. She wanted the jewelry, the charitable connections, the sympathetic narrative of being mistreated by the palace. But she apparently didn't want to actually respect the painful realities of Diana's life and death. She wanted the crown without acknowledging the cost. The reaction this time, however, seems different. Even some of Meghan's most devoted defenders are struggling to justify this action. Social media pages that typically support the Sussexes have gone ominously silent. Royal commentators who usually cut Meghan some slack are now calling it inexcusable. And sources close to Hollywood circles suggest that even her celebrity friends are privately questioning her judgment on this. The phrase that keeps popping up in comments and analysis pieces is brutally simple. If you're going to build your entire brand around being Diana 2.0, then you have to show some respect for the place where Diana died. You can't have it both ways. You can't invoke her memory when it benefits you and then ignore it when it's inconvenient for your content schedule. Behind the scenes, insiders claim, this Paris video was part of a much larger strategic plan that has now spectacularly backfired on Meghan. According to sources close to her team, Meghan has been desperately trying to rebrand herself as a global lifestyle influencer. Someone who embodies luxury, sophistication, and effortless glamour. Paris was supposed to be the perfect backdrop for this reinvention. Instead, it has become her biggest public nightmare in years. Rumors in Hollywood circles say that Meghan's advisors had planned out an entire Paris content strategy. She was supposed to be photographed in high-end restaurants, expensive boutiques, at fashion shows. The goal, according to industry insiders, was to shift her image away from the narrative of the wronged former duchess to something more aspirational and commercially viable. She was supposed to look like someone that brands would want to collaborate with so that she could sell products and lifestyle dreams to millions of followers. But here's where things get really interesting. Sources suggest that Harry warned her even about the trip to Paris. Reports are circulating that he allegedly begged her to pick literally any other city to create her glamorous content. London, Milan, New York, anywhere but Paris. According to those close to the situation, he explained that the city carried too much emotional baggage for him, too much of triggering associations. He couldn't bear to watch her turn Paris into a playground when the place represented the darkest chapter of his life. Meghan allegedly ignored his concerns. Insiders claim she told him he needed to work through his trauma, that she couldn't put her entire career on hold because of his fixation on one city. Paris was crucial to the high-end brand image she was cultivating. It was the fashion capital of the world, a city of romance and sophistication. To forego it would be a massive strategic error, and she wasn't about to sacrifice her professional goals for his emotional baggage. Rumors from sources close to her team say that Meghan genuinely believed the public would embrace the Parisian content with enthusiasm. Her advisors reportedly told her that people wanted to see her thrive, living her best life, showing the world that she had moved beyond the royal drama. They thought the glamorous European aesthetic would be perfect for social media, generating the kind of engagement that brands pay millions for. They thought they had considered everything. What they apparently didn't take into account was the precise location of that tunnel. According to PR experts analyzing the debacle, someone on Meghan's team should have checked the GPS coordinates and traced the exact streets the limo was driving on. Someone should have known that posting content from that particular area would trigger an immediate and intensely negative reaction. But insiders whisper that Meghan's team was so focused on getting the perfect shot, on capturing that effortless luxury vibe, that they completely overlooked the historical significance of where they were filming. And now Harry is paying the emotional price for what sources are describing as Meghan's calculated gambit that backfired spectacularly. The internet has seen its fair share of Meghan Markle scandals over the years, but nothing prepared anyone for the absolute firestorm that erupted over this Paris video. Within hours of its publication, the comment section had turned into a war zone. Thousands upon thousands of people were expressing shock, disgust, and genuine bewilderment at how she could be so tone-deaf. And this time the criticism wasn't just coming from the usual suspects. Royal commentators who had spent years defending Meghan's every move were suddenly struggling to find excuses. Kinsey Schofield, a prominent voice in royal coverage, didn't mince words. She pointed out the glaring contradiction that everyone was thinking. This is the same woman who constantly tells us she's Diana 2.0. Shouldn't she be aware of something like this? The criticism stung because it exposed what many perceived as a fundamental hypocrisy in Meghan. She wanted the comparisons to Diana when they elevated her status, but she apparently displayed zero sensitivity toward the actual reality of Diana's death. Social media exploded with variations on the same devastating observation. People couldn't understand how someone could be so calculating in invoking Diana's memory for sympathy and brand building, yet be so careless about the site where Diana died. The phrase that kept being repeated over and over was brutally simple. She is a mile from where Princess Diana met her final moment. 1 mile. This isn't an accident. This isn't an oversight. This is a choice. Even some of Meghan's celebrity supporters conspicuously went silent. Hollywood friends who usually rushed to defend her on social media were nowhere to be seen. Industry insiders whisper that several A-list celebrities who had publicly backed the Sussexes were privately horrified by the video. According to sources close to various celebrity circles, some of them were texting each other asking what the hell Meghan was thinking, but no one was willing to say it publicly. The British press, as expected, had a field day. But what distinguished this scandal from previous Sussex controversies was that even American outlets that usually gave Meghan more sympathetic coverage struggled to defend her. Analytical pieces emerged with headlines like "When invoking Diana's legacy crosses a line" and "The Paris video Meghan Markle never should have posted." Royal experts were invited on major TV networks and almost all of them said the same thing. This was indefensible. Royal historian Dr. Tessa Dunlop summed up what millions were thinking. If she wasn't trying to style herself as Diana 2.0, this might seem far-fetched. But she constantly tells us she's the new Diana. And that's the problem Meghan apparently never saw coming. You can't build your entire public persona around being Diana's spiritual successor and then display such insensitivity to the side where Diana's life ended. The public sees right through it. And the most devastating part, according to sources, is that it wasn't just random internet trolls or the British tabloids stoking the outrage. It was ordinary people. Sussex supporters, neutral observers, all coming to the same conclusion. Meghan had crossed a line. Insiders whisper that this Paris video crisis has exposed fault lines in the Sussexes' marriage that have been forming for years. According to sources close to the couple, this wasn't just another argument that would blow over after a few days of tension. This was a fundamental disagreement that's making them question whether the two people are even compatible. Whether they share the same values, whether they understand each other at all. Reports are circulating that Harry has moved into the guest house and hasn't emerged in days. Staffers are rumored to have heard nothing from his side of the house other than the occasional sound of him pacing back and forth late at night. Sources claim he has been replaying not just the video itself, but what Meghan's response to his pain revealed about their relationship. She saw him at his most vulnerable, heard him explain why this was so important to him, and allegedly chose her content strategy over his emotional well-being. Either way, this is what makes this crisis so much more dangerous than previous Sussex dramas. According to insiders, this argument has touched upon every unresolved conflict that's been festering between them since they left the royal family. Harry reportedly feels like he sacrificed everything for Meghan. His family, his country, his military titles, his relationship with William. He gave up the only life he'd ever known because she said she couldn't survive in that world. And now, sources whisper, he's wondering what he actually got in return. Harry has reportedly been questioning Meghan's motives more and more over the past year. The Netflix deals, the podcast, the constant media appearances that she complained about when they lived in the palace. Insiders suggest he's starting to see a pattern he didn't want to acknowledge before. That maybe Meghan didn't actually want privacy and a quiet life. Maybe she just wanted fame and attention on her own terms, without the constraints of royal protocol. And this Paris video allegedly crystallized all of those doubts into one devastating realization. According to sources close to the situation, Harry has told friends that if Meghan truly loved him in the way she claims, she would have never posted that video. She would have instinctively known that some places are sacred, some wounds are too deep to use as content backdrops. The fact that she didn't see the problem until the backlash started reportedly tells him everything he needs to know. Palace insiders claim that Meghan, for her part, feels increasingly isolated and defensive. She reportedly believes that Harry is giving in to public opinion, that he's letting the haters win by making this such a big deal. Sources suggest that she sees him as weak, allowing his trauma to control them both. And this fundamental disconnect, this inability to see each other's perspectives, is reportedly driving a wedge between them that may be impossible to overcome. Friends of the couple whisper that they are barely speaking at this point. When they do interact, it's cold, formal, utterly devoid of the warmth they used to show each other, and people close to both are starting to ask the question no one wanted to articulate. Could this marriage actually survive? Back in London, sources say the royal family has been watching the Paris video debacle unfold with a mixture of horror and grim satisfaction. According to insiders close to Buckingham Palace, senior royals had been predicting something like this would eventually happen. They had always believed that Meghan fundamentally misunderstood what it truly meant to be associated with Diana's legacy. And now, their worst suspicions have allegedly been confirmed in the most public way imaginable. Rumors within royal circles say that Prince William was absolutely livid when he saw the video. Sources close to the Prince of Wales suggest that he immediately called several trusted advisors, his voice shaking with anger as he asked if they had seen what Meghan had done. William, who shares Harry's trauma of losing their mother in that very tunnel, reportedly took it as a personal insult not just to Harry but to Diana's memory itself. Insiders whisper that he told confidants that this proves everything he's been saying about Meghan for years, that she is exploiting his family's pain for her own gain. According to those close to the palace, Kate was equally horrified but for different reasons. Sources claim that the Princess of Wales has always tried to give Meghan the benefit of the doubt, has always hoped that maybe the media was exaggerating her behavior. But this Paris video reportedly shattered any remaining empathy that Kate had. Royal insiders suggest that she told William that no amount of media training or cultural differences can explain that level of insensitivity. It was simply cruel. King Charles, according to palace sources, has been receiving briefings about the video and the escalating backlash. Insiders claim that he is particularly concerned about the timing. The monarchy has been making an extraordinary effort to rehabilitate its public image, to project compassion and modern relevance. And then Meghan releases content that makes her appear harmless in relation to Diana's death, reminding everyone of the darkest chapter in the royal family's history. Sources whisper that Charles sees this as yet another Sussex crisis that damages the entire family's reputation. But here's what's truly devastating. According to royal insiders, this Paris video has reportedly closed the door on any remaining possibility of reconciliation between Harry and his family. Palace sources claim that William had been slowly, quietly opening the door to a possible path towards forgiveness. Not full reconciliation, but at least civil communication. That door has now reportedly slammed shut for good. Rumors behind palace walls say that senior royals believe that Harry has to see the truth now. That Meghan has no respect for his family, no respect for his mother's memory, no respect for the trauma that has shaped him. Royal insiders whisper that they are waiting for Harry to finally wake up and realize what they claim they knew all along. That Meghan has been using him using Diana's legacy, using the royal connection for her own ambitions. And the most cruel part, according to sources close to the court, is that the royal family can't even reach out to Harry now. They can't tell him that they understand his pain about this video. They can't offer support or sympathy because Harry himself burnt those bridges when he left. And now, insiders whisper, he's completely alone with a wife who apparently doesn't understand him at all. Behind the scenes, Meghan's team, insiders claim, has been in full crisis mode ever since the Paris video exploded. According to insiders in Hollywood PR circles, emergency meetings were called immediately after the backlash began. Her advisors reportedly realized within hours that this wasn't going to blow over like previous controversies. This had the real potential for lasting damage and they needed a quick strategy. But here's where things get complicated. Industry insiders whisper that Meghan's team is completely divided on how to handle this debacle. One faction reportedly wants her to issue a sincere apology, to acknowledge that she made a mistake and failed to fully consider the significance of the location. They argue that showing vulnerability and genuine remorse could actually help rehabilitate her image. People can forgive insensitivity if she owns it and shows real understanding of why it offended so many people. The other faction, according to sources close to her inner circle, believes that an apology would be a disastrous mistake. They reportedly feel that it would validate every attack that's ever been leveled against Meghan, make her look weak and give ammunition to her haters. This group reportedly wants her to either ignore the controversy entirely and let it die down naturally, or to reframe the narrative as another example of unfair persecution, making herself the victim once again. Rumors suggest that Meghan herself is leaning towards the second option. Sources claim that she is furious about the backlash, believing that it's overblown and manufactured by people who are looking for any excuse to attack her. She has reportedly told her team that she's tired of apologizing for things that wouldn't be controversial if anyone else did them. Insiders whisper that she sees this as yet another racist double standard. Another attempt to hold her to impossible standards while white members of the royal family are forgiven for far worse behavior. But her PR team has reportedly warned her that playing the victim card this time could backfire spectacularly. According to industry insiders, even her most sympathetic media contacts are struggling to spin this in her favor. The Diana connection is simply too sensitive, too painful, and trying to frame this as a race issue or persecution when it's really about basic respect for the site where Harry's mother died could permanently undermine any remaining credibility she has. Then there's the Harry factor, which no one knows how to deal with. Sources close to the situation claim that Meghan's team Meghan is terrified of what will happen if Harry publicly breaks with her over this. If he gives even the slightest hint that he agrees the video was inappropriate, that he's hurt by her decision, the narrative completely collapses. Meghan can't claim persecution and exaggeration if her own husband is on the other side. Insiders whisper that Meghan is allegedly pressuring Harry to release a statement in her support for him to publicly back her and denounce the criticism as harassment. But, according to sources close to Harry, he's refusing. For the first time in their relationship, he's reportedly unwilling to defend her. And this silence, royal observers suggest, speaks louder than any statement. This Paris video crisis has grown into something far bigger than a single social media misstep. According to insiders observing the Sussexes' marriage from the inside, it represents a fundamental turning point that has been brewing for years. Every unresolved disagreement, every sacrifice Harry has made, every moment Meghan allegedly put her ambitions above his feelings, it's all reportedly collapsing in this one devastating moment. Sources close to Harry whisper that he has been doing a lot of soul-searching in recent weeks. He's reportedly asking himself questions he never wanted to face. Did he give up his whole family, his country, his identity for a woman who doesn't really understand him? Did he mistake attraction and shared grievances towards the palace for genuine compatibility? And most painfully, would his mother approve of the choices he's made and the woman he's chosen? Royal experts suggest that this crisis puts Harry in an impossible position. If he publicly supports Meghan over this video, he betrays his own trauma and his mother's memory. But if he comes out against her or even remains silent, he validates every accusation the royal family and the British public have ever made against their relationship. He's trapped between loyalty to his wife and respect for the pain that has defined his whole life. And Meghan, according to those close to her, is facing her own reckoning. Industry insiders claim that she genuinely didn't foresee this level of negative reaction. She thought she could manage the Diana comparisons on her own terms, use the legacy when it benefited her brand, and ignore the painful realities when they didn't suit. But this Paris video has reportedly shown her that the public won't let her have it both ways. You can't build your identity around being Diana 2.0 and then show disrespect to the land where Diana died. The question everyone in royal circles is asking now is brutally simple. Can this marriage survive? Sources claim the couple are barely coexisting in the same house. Harry is reportedly spending much of his time away from Meghan, on work trips related to his charity, or holed up in the guest house. Meghan is reportedly throwing herself into business meetings and content creation, pretending everything is fine while the foundations of her marriage crumble. Friends on both sides whisper that divorce conversations have begun privately. Not publicly, not officially, but the word is allegedly being mentioned for the first time. Lawyers' names are reportedly being secretly passed around, and those close to the couple are starting to prepare for the possibility that the Sussexes' fairy tale could end in the most spectacular public divorce since Charles and Diana. So what happens next? Will Harry finally side with Meghan and demand she show genuine respect for his mother's memory? Will Meghan double down and continue building her brand, regardless of his feelings? Or will they both realize that this marriage was built on shared grievances rather than genuine love and compatibility?